It's said that life is a journey best traveled with friends.
Along the way are adventures and misadventures. But if you're Ms. Mel's friend, you'll find some Ms. Adventures.
Join Ms. Mel for misadventures with friends and explore the paths of friendship.
Hello to you, and welcome to another Ms. Adventure with Friends. I'm here today with my friend Jody. Hi, Jody.
Whoop, whoop. Hello. It's good to be here.
Good to see you. And even though you folks are already hearing us, I can actually see Jody because I'm in the Depot Street studios doing a Zoom call with Jody, and we're recording that, and that will end up being our episode. I'm absolutely thrilled to see Jody and reconnect with her for a bit.
This is how we always see each other.
I know we have been virtual friends, digital friends for gosh.
Before it was even like hip and cool. We were the remote virtual friends, like way before all it happened.
Yeah, I mean, like 10 years, maybe.
I think longer. Well, yeah.
But we have seen each other in person.
We won't share long big numbers in this episode.
we have seen each other in person about 4 times maybe over the years. And we became friends when we were both working for a national organization and both working remotely for this organization. So we have remotely encountered each other quite a bit, and
remotely encountered.
we came up with the moniker of staff ninjas because we were always lurking in the background, in the shadows, ready to spring at any moment.
That could be a weird prophetic moment for my now business.
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't even think about that till now.
And speaking of business, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there because I want Jody to talk about it a little bit. Jody, I knew Jody before she was flexible. It's the way I've said it. Jody became interested in martial arts, specifically
Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You gotta roll the J, jiu-jitsu. Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Yeah. You can just say BJJ.
BJJ. That was it.
There you go.
And she has taken that and really her love for that and her love for kids and turned it into a wonderful thing, a wonderful business. You can find her at thegreatflip.com. That's all together. The Great, GREAT, Flip, FLIP.com. It is martial arts for kids, and it's an online situation. She's got videos and commentary on all of that, and it's just really, really fantastic program. I encourage you to look into that, not just for the exercise aspects, but also for the self-defense aspects of it. And it's beneficial not just for kids, but for adults as well. If I could see my toes and bend over to touch them, I would be a student of Jody's. But she encourages me with her words of wisdom and just her enthusiasm for what she's doing. And I've been most grateful for that over the years. So welcome, my friend. And
that's the best commercial ever. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. And we're just going to talk about friendship. We'll hit some of our appointed questions that we pull up occasionally, or we'll just let it grow organically and see where we go with this and what happens. So, Jody, we have talked about our friendship. What would you say is a good definition for friendship?
All right. So I had to think about that because they're just listening to your past podcast, which I would highly recommend anybody, because it's just this deep weave of what is friendship and what is it really makes you dig down. But my gut reaction was I'm like, well, what is friendship? What all the different friendships looks like, but what does the Bible say? What does scripture say? For me, friendship is, and so there's the three top, I guess, descriptions of love in scripture. And one of them was, I'm not sure if I'm going to say it right, is it filio? Is a good word. And that is the friendship kind of love, which I thought was really cool. And that's like in the top 3 of all the loves that is described. And so I thought that's
my like brotherly. That's where we
get
the name for Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like a brotherly or sisterly love. And it's a deep, generous affection and dedication to one another, which I think is really sweet to think about. Yeah, my deepest friends, I have a great dedication and affection towards, and there's a deep trust and vulnerability with. And of course, in scripture, the best example that many people refer to is the friendship between David and Jonathan. It says that they became one in spirit and they trusted each other with their lives. And I thought that was a really sweet way to talk about friendship. And really, if I may throw out a great flip for you, the great flip about friendship is that, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about, what friendship really looks like, but there's this amazing trust. I'm not friends with you, Mel, to earn your friendship back. I'm friends with you because we already have this friendship. And the great flip is that I'm not friends with or strive to be friends with Jesus to earn his affection. I'm friends with him because I already have it.
Right.
And that's the great flip of all of that's the gospel story, is that I don't have to earn love from God. It's I already have his love. So we don't serve him to earn his love. We serve him because we already have his love. And that's this great flip, even on friendship, is that we strive to be in connection and relationship with each other, not to try to earn each other's affection, but because we have this just great comfort that we already have it. So that's where I begin with friendship, which is pretty cool.
Well said. It's yeah. I think you said something about the affection between David and Jonathan being really sweet. My thought on their relationship, it's not just sweet, it's powerful. Because of the violence and the animosities they were surrounded with, and their trust and their bond stayed true.
Yeah.
And it stayed strong. So it's a powerful example of friendship and what friendship can be, regardless of circumstances.
Yeah, you just made me think of just these past few years with all the pandemic and everything, and how we felt so isolated. But even in the midst of all the trauma and even being isolated, it was friendships that like held me together anyway, whether I did a Zoom call or to finally be in connection with them. And love the Zoom call, love my ninja friends here, but it was so sweet and powerful to actually be with you in those moments that we had. That is you're right. It's more than just sweet. It's a very powerful feeling to be in a great hug with your friends and to see them and touch them. And it friendship gets you through everything.
Keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
You're grounded.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I mean, God put that desire in us. So we have to have friends. Yeah.
Yes, we do. That's a have to. We weren't made to be isolated by any means. And isolation can cause us to withdraw. Isolation can cause us to reach out. And I think it's terribly important to stay connected with people. And that's a term that comes up in conversations with people about friendship, is that intentionality, that making an effort, because I don't know about you, but time keeps on ticking, ticking, ticking into the future. We are just bulldozing into our futures. Time is just flying by, and you know, you used to think when you were a kid that time ticked by so slowly. Will Christmas ever get here? Kind of mentality, and I realized just how rapidly time was passing when my own children many years ago would say, "Why is time going so fast?" I'm like, "You shouldn't be recognizing this as a child.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just snowballing,
Yeah.
snowballing to the day."
Yeah. And I guess even to encourage like people who, like if you're an introvert and it's so much effort. I have a daughter who maybe they're all like extroverted introverts where putting out the intention of making new friends and it's exhausting and I'd rather just maybe just be alone for the day. And yet we do need our alone time. But if you know that, I don't know, and it's hard to be vulnerable and it's hard to move beyond being an acquaintance to being a friend, because those are different levels of friendship. But knowing that if you make that first step, it's amazing when she's in studying counseling and psychology, and whoever the first person is to reveal something that might be a little bit vulnerable to put out there, it opens an entire room up. And she's seen this over and over and over again. If you're the first one to say, "Hey, I struggle with anxiety," suddenly the whole room's like, "I do too," or "I had that same experience." And suddenly this great bond happens. When if just one person can be intentional or be vulnerable, it creates these lifelong friends. So somebody has to have the courage. What is it like? 10 minutes or 1 minute of courage can change your entire life. And you can apply that to friendship too. That's from a movie somewhere. We bought a zoo. I don't know if you remember that movie. Anyway,
I don't think I've seen that one, but it's on my to-do list.
that's a good one.
Yeah, and established friendships need that same kind of vulnerability and intentionality. I think I liken it to I hear it all the time. Families getting together. Don't wait to get together with families until there's a funeral.
Right.
And you want to do the same thing with your friends. Don't wait until it's too late.
Yeah.
And
a good friend, so you and I haven't had a lot of time to catch up, and when we do, it's like all those years melt away. I mean,
exactly.
You can just snap right into a conversation. It's like we haven't talked to each other in probably a couple months, and it's like, wow, we just picked right up from where we started. And that's like a good sign that this is a good friend, where we just pick right up where you are. So, and I have a really, really great friend who we rarely get to see each other. And we've already agreed, if I forget your birthday or if I forget some of these key moments, that's just my brain. And if I didn't write it down, and there's a lot of, I guess, forgiveness in our friendship, because we know how scatterbrained we are. So
I understand.
We try to remember those kinds of things, but I'm not going to be holding offense against her for forgetting my birthday or forgetting something, because we are so one in spirit that those little things don't bother us.
You're listening to Misadventures with Friends.
Jody, I want to ask you a question that only certain people I will ask this of.
Uh-oh. Let me pull up another cup of coffee here.
Yeah, some people are just like kind of thrown by it, and they can't go with it and run with it. But we have similar senses of humor, and so I want to say and ask rather, what is your most unusual or unexpected friendship?
Darn it, that was the one question when you gave me some talking point questions, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, maybe my dog.
And I love your dog.
I know.
We've always met your dog in person, but you send me pictures of your dog, Randy.
That's right. And we always have the dogs or your cats or something crawling around in the background when we talk to each other.
I don't let them in the studio unless one of the yard cats happens to swing by when I have the door open.
Yeah, and if we have like a clunking sound coming down the stairs, will be mine having enough. I don't know. I try to think about that. An unusual friend. I mean, like quirky people maybe, but
Could be quirky people, could be
yeah,
circumstances.
it drew somebody together and that I'm still friends with. I don't know. That's why I'm like, I have no idea. Maybe because maybe I'm that unusual friend to everybody else. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. And that made me think of, I think one of the thoughts that you passed by me before was, what makes a really good friend, and it separates it from being an acquaintance to a friend. And there's a business book from years ago. I think it was like a Bill Hybels book back before he went cuckoo. But it was all about the 3 C's of, it was all about teamwork, but it can also be about friendship. And it was character and competence and chemistry, where you're looking to build a team, or for office or work or ministry or whatever. There's many people can fit into this area of, they're a person of great character and integrity, they're a person of great competence, they can do the job. But if you don't get along with a person and you don't have some kind of quirky chemistry or
Oh my
something that
gosh,
connects
yes.
you, then they're not going to fit in the team. They're not going to be part of, and you don't have to be super best friends with everybody on your team or in your office or ministry, but you have to have some kind of chemistry. And that's why when talking about something unusual, I'm like, well, I usually have this, I don't want to use the word quirky, but there's always some kind of fun chemistry, because we've worked together, and you can be in a on a staff or in a church or anything where not everybody's best friends, and not everybody has to be best friends. But there's something special about chemistry that sparks friendship. So that's why I'm like, well, maybe everyone you interview down the road who might know me, they'd be like, well, I know this person that I used to work with, or no, it might be me someday, but right now I'm going to go with my dog.
Well, there's nothing more disheartening than becoming a part of a new group, again, whether it be a social group or a work related group, and allowing your personality to come up and come out, and nobody gets it. And you feel like, I'm up against the wall. I mean, just go ahead and lower your muskets. Because I mean, shoot me now, because you know that you're not going to jive with that group. And you know me, and you've known me for a long time. I have a bizarre sense of humor sometimes, and I can get pretty quirky.
Yeah.
And that has been, I guess, a self-defense mechanism in some relationships, and whether it be friendships or acquaintances, just to maintain that quirkiness. Maybe that puts people off when you try to test the waters with it.
Right.
But it is disheartening when you're in a new group, a new situation, and you're trying to establish that connection.
Right.
Because long before a friendship can be forged, you've got to make connection.
Yeah.
So, Jody, with that term, how do you go about making connections? How does Jody make connections with people, whether they become diehard friendships or business acquaintances? Speak to it from your perspective, and also you've raised 2 daughters. Speak to it from the perspective of a parent.
Well, I think back that when we're raising our kids, we're just placed in community of, like, you're the mom, and you take your kids to school, so you're friends with all the other moms who take their kids to school, and some of the best days were elementary school, where you're just with these people all the time, and then suddenly and it was a Christian school environment, and then you move into high school, and you're really sad because, like, suddenly you don't get to see those people anymore, and there is a little bit of heartache because you thought some of those people maybe were friends, and the intentional, hey, let's go grab a coffee, or hey, let's do things together, we did things together because we had to, because we were all connected, and they were great. It was a great experience, but those friendships were suddenly lost. And it was, I think, moving into high school was probably the hardest time, because suddenly, moms aren't hanging out in the hallways at high school because, they're going to high school. And that's when I probably felt more alone, once they get through that, elementary school time and the moms are all hanging out. And so at that point, there was like some years of loneliness, obviously going to, church, and probably, a ladies' Bible study was the place where friendship was finally rekindled. And it was kind of this quirky group of, again, quirky keeps coming up. It's weird.
Word of the day, quirky.
I know, quirky. But a very special group of women came together, and it took one gal in particular who was very intentional about calling friends to getting us together. And that friendship, those friendships lasted probably like 8 or 10 years. But again, people start moving away, and like out of the 8 people who were there, like 2 of them have remained really close friends. But just getting myself out there and going to places. Oh, and then of course, when I did the martial arts for 8 years, that is a really tight group of people in that surrounding, in that community of martial arts and jujitsu and all that. But those were more like acquaintances. I don't think there's anyone from that time that I'm deep friends with. And just thinking about it right now, I'm like, wow, who has remained the closest, tightest friends are the people of faith with me. So it's my faith friends who have maintained a lifelong friendship, which is really, really special, because you can share everything with them. Because when you're in the acquaintance mode, you don't want to offend somebody, or you want to talk about your faith in a whimsical way as to not offend or to draw interest, but you're always doing that kind of stuff. But whereas faith friends, you have the vulnerability and the trust to get it all out there. So yeah, I'd say definitely my church peeps are my closest friends for sure.
Well, that kind of connects, connects with another thought, another question of how has your perspective on friendship changed over the years? Now, think way back when you were beginning to think about having friends, and what little kindergartner doesn't want to come home and say, I have 14 friends today. I learned to count 14. That's how I know I have 14. How has your perspective on that changed? At different stages of life,
Right. I mean, I think back to my very first best friend when I was, in kindergarten, and to this day we're still best friends. We don't see each other very often or talk very often, but she and I could just pick up where we are. And she was, we'd play outside and pretend to make mud pies in the dirt, or we'd sing silly songs, when we did fun girl sleepovers. But we'd get in trouble at chapel every Wednesday because we went to, Christian school together. We had those, but it was our faith that tied us together. And I've always been somebody who I don't need like a million friends, but I need like a strong, handful of like my top 5 people that at 3 a.m. if there's trouble, who can I call? Who would be there for me? Who would pray for me? Who would be at my door delivering a meal? And that has happened just through maybe my personality or just by experience, but I've always needed to have one good friend. And I remember in college, my freshman year, so that's always a hard time too, feeling so alone then. And I remember that's probably when it started. I remember just praying and just angst where I'm like, Lord, I just need just give me one friend, just in my tears. And ever since then, in all of my seasons of life, whether it's, early motherhood till now to empty nester, God's always provided that one friend. And even we've transferred to a smaller church. We live out in the country now. And we have this amazing brand new group of friends we refer to our faith family. And God's always provided that one good friend. And now I have 1 times 20 from all my seasons of life. I can think of somebody from all those seasons who has remained. I may have known 20 or 40, but there's always one from each season that has remained a true friend. So God's been amazing in that category. Ever since praying that prayer when I was a freshman in college. It's crazy.
Yay.
Yay, God is good.
Yay, that is a good thing. I want to give you a few minutes to share with us about your business, thegreatflip.com.
The Great Flip.
Was it a friend that encouraged you to do this?
Let's see. So my daughters and I, so when our girls were middle school, high school, we thought, gosh, they're going off to high school and then college, and they have no self-defense skills at all, because it just wasn't a value of ours to do martial arts. We had other activities and character development organizations that we put our kids in, but suddenly it's like, we need to give them some practical skills. And so like, hey, let's go do a martial art. My husband studied like which one is the best one. And we landed on this Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and like, okay, I'm going to do it with the girls. We're going to do this. And we bought all the stuff and all the uniforms and the belts, and it was so expensive. And we got there and the girls hated it, because you get to roll around with like sweaty people. And not that I like rolling around with sweaty people, but it was just very uncomfortable because you have to be in physical contact to learn self-defense skills. But I continued. I started coaching. I did it for 7 years, like right up kind of through the pandemic, but my body started to hurt more than it was worth continuing to do. But I'm like, there's got to be a way to introduce kids to self-defense skills that's just not so expensive, and not so get in the car and go and do this. And if they love it, then you can kind of do the big expense. So the Great Flip came out of that moment where the girls just wanted to learn self-defense, but they didn't want to have to, well, I didn't want to have to pay for all this stuff. So there was nowhere online that had well-produced videos that are simple, that kids can follow. Everything is usually out of somebody's garage, and it's kind of just poorly produced. So I put together the Great Flip, and there's lesson plans, and there's simple 3-minute videos, or you can learn if somebody grabs your wrist, how do you escape from that? And if somebody does a bear hug, how do you escape from that? That kids can actually do, and the parents can do it with them. And now that homeschooling is just exploding and people are looking for homeschool activities, it's a great PE activity or after school activity. And then in addition to just the fun martial arts experience, there's fun little devotions. I get to write devotions for another Christian ministry. And I always try to apply some kind of great flip. If somebody thinks that, and I always kind of like juxtapose the law and gospel, where everyone thinks we need to do certain things, but I want to present that like, no, those things have been done for you through Christ. And so I'm always trying to do a great flip, and there's a million awesome great flips in scripture. So that's the Great Flip commercial for you today, my friend.
Well, I appreciate it. I've watched this business grow for you. Your passion for it grow.
It is fun. I mean, and it makes me, you're right, it makes me stay in shape, and it gives me something to share with the kids. So it is fun.
Yeah, it's really been fun watching you. I'll be honest, from a distance.
That's right.
We are long distance friends. Watching this grow and develop over the years it's been fun. It really has. I'm like, yay, go Jody. Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody, for being with us and chatting with us today. Our time is running a little short. Looks like Zoom is cracking down on.
You and I have never had a short time of filling time with words, have we?
No, we haven't had any problem whatsoever with doing that.
And if we're not talking, we're like secretly typing to each other that nobody else can see.
Like ninjas.
That's right.
That's where we came about, is
Yep.
probably in staff meetings, typing messages back and forth.
Right.
Because what do you do when everybody else is in one big room and you're on camera from a distance? I have to wonder, do you people get it now? Do you understand how hard it is to to be actively involved when you're on camera and the rest of the crew is all together in person.
But back in the day, didn't we use Skype? Remember when Skype was all the rage?
Yes. Oh man, we used Skype, and we had whatever meeting platform that our organization was using at the time, that where it looked like everybody was the size of ants, and I'd turn off my camera and, well, are you there? Are you there? Can you hear us? You know, because you get tired of staring at the screen for 2 hours. Oh goodness. Again, thank you for being with us. Thank you for being a part of my life, a friend for life, in life, long distance. It's nice to know that I can just pick up the phone and say, hey, Jody, what's up? Let's catch up, and we can have a good conversation. Well, thank you, friends, old and new, for journeying with us today. We're going to wrap it up, and we ask that you give us a thumbs up and be our friend on Facebook and Instagram. Watch for our podcast drops. They come every 2 weeks right now. And Jody, you'll probably start a new year for us by the time we get yours together.
Nice.
So we can just say Happy New Year now.
Happy New Year.
Start off on a new foot with a new adventure with friends. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Love you, friend.
Appreciate you. Love you.
There is magic in long-distance friendships. They let you relate to other human beings in a way that goes beyond being physically together and is often more profound. Diana Cortez.
Misadventures with Friends is a production of Depot Street Studios and Rocket 88 Broadcasting. Music is from Storyblocks.com. Misadventures with Friends is a production of Depot Street Studios and Rocket 88 Broadcasting. Music is from Storyblocks.com.